Good morning, everyone. So, Marion Ranchet, super good to be here. I'll be the only English speaker, and I'm French, so I'm going to try to do my best. So, the first thing that I do with any companies that I work with, is agree on the North Star metric. That is the metric that we will chase. Every decision will be motivated by that metric. If you look at Airbnb, it's the number of nights booked. You look at Uber, it's the number of rides booked. What about us? What about our media and entertainment industry? When we talk about video, these last few years, we've heard only about subscriber growth. Who was the biggest? Who had the most scale? You know, it's pretty clear we have a handful of players fighting for that scale. Having said that, fighting for subscriber growth, that is expensive, and as we've seen it, not every company is able to do that. Only Netflix today has that scale and is profitable. Timing is interesting. Last week they said that they would stop actually divulging subscriber number. I have my theory about that, but in any case, as you can see, there's been a shift in profitability. You cannot go after the biggest scale without investing money, and everyone is in the red. So in the next few years, the shift is going to operate to profitability. And it means that actually the true metric that we should have when it comes to video is time spent. So it's small here, but Jason Kilar, former CEO of Warner, says that there's two metrics by which we should measure the health of a media company: the number of people who were here yesterday and the time they spent with you. So the new golden metric is time spent. This is what drives the value today. Now, if you look at the US market, so those are numbers from 2022. This is time spent using media, over 13 hours. 52, doesn't sound right. The reason is that actually they're including multitasking, because we know it, we don't compartmentalize the way we used to. When we look at the German market, we're a little below 10 hours. This is only 8 minutes, that's actually 8 minutes less than in 2022. It is over 47 minutes since 2019. The challenge is that there's so many hours in a day, right? So when it comes to audio and video consumption, year over year, slight increase, 0.2%. So the challenge today is that you have infinite competition, but you have a finite number of hours during the day. Reed Hastings said it years ago, his competitor is not necessarily Disney, it's actually sleep, Fortnite, you name it. And so there's going to be a growth ceiling, because there's same amount of time, potentially similar amount of money, and more companies fighting for those dollars. And as you can see, these are numbers from Pricewaterhouse. They're expecting our industry to experience a growth slowdown in the coming years. Not everyone does. If you look at the creator economy, it took them 20 years to be at $250 billion. It's going to take them 2 years to double that number by 2027. Now, where are we at as an industry? Good old industry. We've been in this business for a long time. The challenge is that we've built, like a startup, we've built our business around an initial product, an initial service for a specific audience in mind. So we had this one value proposition. Throughout the years, we've evolved it 100%, but we got to go faster and bigger, because as you all know it, we're now consuming content across multiple screens, and we have multiple audiences. So that means that we need to have multiple value proposition. It seems easy, but it's not that easy to actually change a company from the ground up. You look at, so there's a lot of discussion around Nielsen, you know, is the data valid, yes or no? Let's assume it is. It's kind of the best thing that we have today. And if you look at this, of course, you're seeing, the same pie, and it's, being eaten by streaming. But more importantly, within streaming, what you're seeing is that gap widening between YouTube, Netflix, and everyone else. You're seeing companies like Tubi having more viewership time than HBO Max. Who would have thought? But the more worrying challenge is that there's a whole generation of viewers that is sleeping away. And these numbers, this was a study made in 2023 by Precise TV. They work in advertising, specifically focused to kids. And as you can see, regardless of the age, 2 to 5, 6, 9, 12, essentially between 82 and 80% of kids are using YouTube, and it is their #1 source of content consumption. It needs to be said every day, because I think we tend to forget, because we're grown-ups, and that's maybe not necessarily where we spend our time, but this is where they spend their time. And as you can see, broadcast TV, #5, there's some concerns to be had. So we had a pivot, and a lot of companies have started doing that, but again, we need to go bigger and faster. And so what does it take to pivot? I'm here in Germany in 24, so I had to make a football comparison. We need a strategy shift. And I love TV shows, so I had to look at Ted Lasso and the total football strategy applied to the video ecosystem. So what do? I mean, television? No. We can't be playing one position, and we're not anymore. But we really need to be in a mindset where we can play every position. We need to be able to do everything on the book, because we need to be where audiences are. So companies must be versatile. And I took 2 examples of companies that I think have done exactly that. #1, if you look at the New York Times, 150 years old newspaper, they say the way we deliver the news is changing, but we'll still do the same thing. Having said that, they went from crossword puzzle that you're doing with a pencil to buying Wordle, and now growing a business that is actually making them a gaming company more than anything else. If you look at the bit in green, it's the time spent by subscribers playing games. This is more than the time spent on news. Overall, the good news is that there's more time spent with the New York Times. But if the company hadn't been versatile, this is where they would be, if not lower. You look at YouTube, so it's an annoying example because they're so successful, but it's interesting to see that these guys were a video sharing platform at first. They actually became a search engine. People search YouTube the same way we search for Google. And they bought the rights to the NFL, and in a few months' time, they were able to become the #4 pay TV operator in the US, in a market that's been bleeding pay TV subs over the last few years. Versatility rewarded. How so? $400 billion valuation. You got to take Disney and Comcast to top YouTube. You can't even, you put Netflix, Warner, Paramount, you can't even top that. And especially Netflix lost $20 billion with the earnings last week, so you're actually at 271. So how do we go about it? I think we need to shake some belief. And one is there's traditional media, and then there's the creator economy, where everyone is in the attention economy. Everyone is in the same bucket. Again, we're fighting for the same time, the same eyeballs, the same ad dollars. The other thing is that we need to change perception. We spend years, producing great content that has now a lifespan that it is reduced to the 28 days of a Netflix. And we think that user-generated, it's, cats and dogs on skateboards. Well, the trick is that the users don't think so. 59% of users surveyed by Accenture in 10 markets say that they feel that UGC content is as entertaining as traditional content. We also need to reframe competition. So this slide is interesting because I think it's a VC value act working for Disney, helping them being a versatile company. And this is what they say. Look at all the great things that you guys have. Netflix doesn't have that. Except that they're comparing themselves with the wrong companies. They should compare themselves to YouTube, to TikTok, and beyond. Now, you can't go at this alone and do everything from scratch. If you look at RTL+, there's no way that they would have had the need to build a music platform from scratch. So they partnered with Deezer to bring more value to their consumers. You look at Disney, they gave it a go, but were very, very unfortunate with their gaming strategy, so they decided to invest in one of the biggest gaming strategy in the world. Amazon, there's only one Mr. Beast. There's no way to try to do that on your own, so you spend the big bucks to work with him. Higher right. So your audience is diverse. Your team should be diverse. And it's gender, it's everything. But age is important as well. We need to understand Gen Z generation and beyond. And to do that, we need to have folks who have the codes of the attention economy. So you need to have a diverse team in order to be able to be where your audience wants you to be. Then be viewer-centric. So you know this quote from Bezos, he's not looking at competition. It doesn't care about competition. He never has. He's customer-obsessed. And we tend to be very much top-down. I'm doing this piece of content, this is for X, Y, Z, etc. But what about, shifting the thinking and be viewer-centric and asking yourself, what do they want? And not necessarily only based on data you have had from the past, because there's so many people that you don't attract anymore. So what do these people want? What can I do for them that they will consume with me? And you need to build a flywheel. So this is not very easy to, but this is from 1957. It's Walt Disney. That's the Disney flywheel. So essentially anything that he does, it connects and it feeds another part of the business. This is how we should think our businesses. And then we need to enter new territories. So I love that the news were great, found out about this recent launch from one of your major publisher. We don't know what it's going to do, and it's quite, brave of them to do that in a market that is dominated by Amazon, but why do they do it? They see a potential new revenue stream. They're going to bring more opportunities for their advertiser partners. And they're going to get their hands on data that will make them better at what they do on the advertising side. So that's your checklist here. You know what to do. Looking for inspiration. So we're doing many things great, but I think it's interesting that we look at different folks for inspiration. So again, not necessarily Netflix, not Disney, This is a company called Nebula outside of the US. So this is the perfect product of the creator economy. But what's fascinating is that they want to be in our business. So they launched this streaming service, super simple, SVOD, nothing new there. But they're trying to build that bridge from their world to ours. Within a few months' time, they managed to garner over 700 paying subs. Those are people who are following creators and are keen on essentially feeding those creators by signing up for a subscription. There's that bond that they have that is making them sign up. You make a comparison with, I live in the Netherlands. Videoland has 1.3 million subs, 700K within a few months' time. These guys, college guys, making 50 million a year. They just got an investment for 100 million. They have, as you imagine, millions of subscribers, 60 million subscribers. They garner billions of views every year. And I took this example because very often I hear, oh yeah, but it's the US, we're different. We're not. This is a French kid. He started as a YouTuber. He was 14. He was crazy about the news. And he actually built from the ground up what is now one of the most followed social account network. And here I took the cutie side with the Chalamet and Zendaya. But last week, A few months ago, he interviewed Macron. Yesterday or a few days ago, he actually interviewed the Ukrainian president. He has more followers than Le Monde, which is the #1 newspaper in France. So all of these guys, they're applying that checklist that I showed you before. But what's fascinating is that these guys are getting older. So you have an age issue, and it's not you, just Germany. It's overall, we have an age issue. There's, a portion of the population that is not interested or less interested in what we have to do and offer. But they will have one too. Like this is Ryan. Ryan is a YouTuber. He's unpacking games and toys, etc. You look at him, he's changed, right? Because he's a grown-up. Will he want to do the same thing in 10 to 20 years? I don't think so. And so why is he making that move into our world by launching a movie? He's building an IP he can live on. And so one of the things that I want you to take away is, again, stop thinking about silos, build a bridge, be that company who's going to build a bridge between traditional and creator. I hear creators saying, I want to be in the traditional media business. How can I go about that? I'm not going to be a YouTuber forever, right? So they have amazing skills. You have amazing skills. I think together, you could do so well. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much for this inspiring presentation. So
thank you.
I think we now have a lot of ideas what to do and what not.
Call me.
So just one more question. So we have heard now a lot of what media and entertainment companies need to do to stay relevant in the market. What do you expect? Will we see a greater consolidation among program providers in the near future?
So you've seen the slide on the competition, right? There's too many cooks. And there's so much time and so much money that viewers are, okay to spend with you. So clearly, there's a need for consolidation. We'll have, talks about the AVOD and fast environment. Yeah, there's too many platforms there. So I think a bit of consolidation, or again, partner smart. Instead of playing everyone against each other and fighting like that, just like trying to be smart. And I think this will take us, much further faster.
Okay, so now, are there any more questions to Marion? Oh, there is one. Can you just...
Yeah, for sure. Oops, sorry. Can you pull the presentation just... And the last, the one before. Yeah.
Zurück zu dem QR-Code.
Yeah.
Genau. So then I have only one more short question. So can you give us a prediction for 2030? Who will dominate the big screen?
So I'm going to be 50. That's a prediction for you. It's very tough. I mean, I had that question during a podcast.
It's only 6 years.
I know. But I was speaking to Dirk, who's coming up next, and we're not so keen on prediction. No, I think one thing that I will say is those who have a shot at this are the ones who understand that they need to do things differently. And it seems simple, but it's kind of insane how much we use the same recipes over and over, or we have a very siloed view of our business. So we do TV, and then we have, replay and AVOD and fast, and everything should be built from day one, as a 360 thing. So that's why I speak about total video. Is we need to change the way we do business. But having said that, I don't want to say who's going to be a winner or a loser. I have a few ideas, but maybe we can chat during the rest of the day, and no one will be mad at me for it.
So, okay, so we have to meet here again.
Exactly, yeah, absolutely, 100%. Thank you, everyone, for having me.
Thank you very much,
Have a good day.
Marion.
Absolutely.